Hi there, for today's Read Aloud, we are reading Amelia Earhart, My Itty Bitty Bio. Okay, so I know we've read a story called Amelia Earhart before, but that was a narrative nonfiction. This story is a biography. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a prediction. We kind of already know a little bit about Amelia Earhart, but if you don't remember, then that's okay. Go ahead and make a prediction on what you think this book is going to be about. Alright, if you need more time, just pause the video, but let's get started on our read aloud. Amelia Earhart. Right here it says, My story. I was born in Kansas in 1897. I was close to my grandparents. I had one sister. Here's a photograph. I was active. I was curious. I played sports. I loved to read. Here's an actual photograph of Amelia Earhart. Right here it has the question, what are your favorite activities? Take a moment and think about it. What are your favorite activities? We just read what her favorite activities were. Okay, if you're at school, maybe the teacher can call on one or two of you. And if you're at home, see if you can't grab a stuffed animal and tell your stuffed animal what your favorite activities are. If you need more time, just pause the video. Let's keep going. I went to college. I worked as a social worker. One day, I discovered flying. I loved it. It was all I wanted to do with my life. Here's another photograph of Amelia Earhart. Some people said women should not fly, but I trained with pilots. I learned to fly. I bought my own plane. I flew as much as I could. Here's another photograph. So I learned something new. I don't remember reading last time that she bought her own plane, so that's something new I'm learning from this story. I bought my own plane. And everything we're reading, this is true. This is real facts about Amelia Earhart. It's not made up. I became the first woman to fly over the Atlantic Ocean. I became very famous. I won awards. I met important people. So that's a big accomplishment. She was the first woman to fly over the Atlantic Ocean. Very cool. Here's another photograph. I married George Putman. He was my publisher. He supported my career. We are partners and friends. Notice another photograph. Are photographs taken with a camera or does someone draw them? They're taken with a camera. Good job. I kept flying. I set more records. I was the first person to fly alone over the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. So that's another first for her, right? So she was the first woman to fly over the Atlantic Ocean, and then she was the first person to fly over the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans alone. Right, here's a fun question. What records would you like to break? So go ahead and take a moment and think about that. What records would you like to break? It's okay if you don't have an answer. These are just fun questions. Okay, if you're at school, maybe your teacher can call on a couple of you to share out your answers. And if you're at home, grab your stuffed animal and share your answer with your stuffed animal. If you need more time, pause the video, but let's keep reading. I decided to take one last big trip. I wanted to circle the globe. So she wanted to go around the whole world. Something went wrong. No one could find me or my plane. I was never found. I was a brave woman. I was a flying pioneer. I set an example for women. What would you like to ask me? Here's another question. So what was something you were still wondering about Amelia Earhart that maybe I didn't read today? What's a question that you are wondering about her? Okay, if you need more time, just pause the video, but let's keep reading. Okay, so timeline. And you've learned about timelines in social studies. She was born in 1897. Here's a picture from 1921 and another picture from 1928. Okay, so what I'd like to do next is I would like to go over the different characteristics of a biography and see if this story, Amelia Earhart, also had those same characteristics. So let's go ahead and go back to the cover of this book. So here's that little anchor chart, biography. A biography tells about the life of a real person. So is Amelia Earhart a real person? Yes. Why is the person important? Well, she was the first woman to fly over the Atlantic Ocean, and she was the first person to fly over the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean alone. It's pretty important. Information about where the person lived, worked, or traveled. Check. Ways the person has made a difference. Yep, check. A biography can have, let's see if these are true, photographs or artwork that show the person. We saw a lot of photographs, didn't we, of Amelia Earhart? The events in order from earliest to latest. We saw that little timeline. Oh, and then right here, a timeline that shows the order of events. Born, started school, rode a bike. Those are an example. But it talked about when she was born, her accomplishments, things she liked. It was in order, right? The timeline. So, so this story is a perfect example of a biography. I hope you learned some new things about Amelia Earhart, and I hope you enjoyed this story. Let's go ahead and go back to the cover. Okay, before we end our read aloud video, what I'd like to talk about real quick is what you've learned from this story. I'm going to go ahead and go back through the book quickly and go over the pages so you have something to talk about on your next slide, which is reading discussion. What did you learn from today's biography? So just a quick little review. So on this page, we learned that Amelia Earhart was born in Kansas in 1897. She was close to her grandparents and sister. Things that she liked sports and to read. She was curious. Right here, this talks about when she went to college. She worked as a social worker. One day she discovered she likes flying. She trained to be a pilot. She learned how to fly. She bought her own plane. She was the first woman to fly over the Atlantic Ocean. She got married to a publisher named George. She set another record, becoming the first person to fly alone over the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And then she wanted to take one last trip over around the globe. Okay, so there's just a couple of things. All right, hope you enjoyed today's read aloud.